From the Zimmer Radio Network headquarters,
I have never been more proud to be an American.
it's your morning addiction. Wake Up Missouri with Stephanie Bell.
It will be traveling further than any manned rocket has ever flown and will very substantially pass the moon, go around it, and come back home.
The Zimmer News Team.
But also it's something Americans can rally around with confidence.
And now introducing your host, Randy Tobler.
There's nothing like what you're doing, circling around the moon for the first time in more than a half a century and breaking the all-time record for the farthest distance from planet Earth. Humans have really never seen anything quite like what you're doing in a manned spacecraft.
Who would have ever thought that the President of the United States would be talking to people that have gone farthest into deep space than any human, seen the far side of the moon, and now are on their way back using the gravitational slingshot of the moon's gravity to head back to Earth. What an amazing time we live in. And I'm Randy Tobler, just back from a day off. And I tell you, yesterday was a momentous day. Jen, thanks for hosting in my absence, and thanks for being here today. Stephanie's out, and that's something to witness, isn't it? I mean, to watch those astronauts and a lot of the emotions that were just welling over yesterday, it was something amazing to see.
America's an incredible country, and it's great to do extraordinary things like this. It's promising to see us achieve something that humanity has never achieved before. All the while, we're doing so many other things at once.
And then the technology to bring our airmen back. I mean, that amazing save out of some little hideout crevice in a cliff 7,000 feet. I mean, the guy used the ultimate human grit. No technology at all when you're tending to your wounds and you're climbing up 7,000 feet.
With your handgun.
Yeah, and then the technology kicks in. The resilience, the improvisation as a couple of the old birds get stuck in the sand. I mean, it is just amazing. And as the details continue to leak out from that, it's fascinating what's going on.
Truly.
John Marsh there and Drake Whitman along. Drake, were you disappointed? Were you happy that the Final Four, the finals ended up the way they did in March Madness?
I don't know. I saw a Michigan team that might be the best we've ever seen. We're going back to Fab Five. This is holy crap.
That was an impressive game. I mean, they played some
They were
game.
on fire.
They beat the crap out of everybody. And this is crazy. Besides UConn, I think the only other team to put up a fight was SLU. SLU put up a better fight than Arizona did.
It was amazing. I know you were sort of high on Arizona through a lot of this, right? Until they got beat.
Yeah, I forgot how Arizona works. At least they made the Final Four, which usually they don't. They have this all-star team, and then they don't do anything with it. So here we are, back at the same place.
Yeah, truly something.
Drake, you got my hopes up with the Cardinals, and they did too last night, but didn't pull that one off. Did you see that?
Jen, I'm gonna make an admission.
We were winning, and then boom, they get 3 runs.
No, but I did see that St. Louis had a full sweep in all of their sports on Saturday. I believe it was. It was the Blues, it was the Cardinals, and I think it was
whatever the soccer team's called.
Yeah, the UFL plays tonight, Battlehawks. So look out for that.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll see how that goes.
That's a cool name. I hadn't even heard of them.
So where are the Battlehawks now? Are they
St. Louis?
Yeah, I know that, but where are they in the rankings? Where are they in the?
They're in the top half. They started off 1-0.
Are they?
Yep.
You know, our friend Tony Lupo's a big Battlehawks fan.
Yeah, he's also a Bills fan, so I don't know where that comes from. But, he can. I don't know.
Are we gonna forgive him for that? Is that what you're saying?
What do you mean? I'm aligned with him. I don't like.
Oh, you're aligned with him.
Yeah, I love the Bills.
You like the Bills? Okay.
Yeah, the Bills, not the Billikens.
My son likes the Bills.
Randomly,
not the all of a sudden.
Oh, the Bills as opposed to the Billikens. Yeah.
They won't stop believing.
And then there's this.
As we go on this journey, thinking about the NASA mission to explore the unknown in air and space, to innovate for the benefit of humanity, and to inspire the world through discovery. And as you've gone along on this journey with us, hopefully we're doing just those things.
Do you think that you can have contention in your sports, you can have geopolitical tension, you can have wars, kinetic wars, you can have polarization in a country. Do you think, is there any chance, or do I have rose-colored glasses on, that the space missions, as they begin to unfold, and I mean, China's going to land on the moon. Is there any way that maybe humanity can start to maybe take a higher look at the way we get along and the things we can do when we work together rather than fight? Or is that just absolutely off the table?
I don't care how many times we go to the moon, Randy. I am not going to like someone from KU. Not a chance.
There you go.
Okay. No hope at all for reconciliation.
Well, one thing that hasn't been mentioned by the commentators, and it's been 50 years since we had a manned, other than the Challenger, had a manned moon mission and all. If you think there isn't a military aspect to all of this from not only us but adversaries, you're probably mistaken.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Good point.
Okay, now tonight at 7 o'clock our time, 8 Eastern.
About 13 hours and counting.
Is another line in the sand. First it was 48 hours, week ago Monday. Then it was Friday. Then it was, or 2 weeks ago Monday. Then it was Friday. Then now it was, it keeps moving the goalposts back. Here's some of the latest from the press.
When every bridge in Iran will be decimated by 12 o'clock tomorrow night, where every power plant in Iran will be out of business, burning, exploding, and never to be used again.
So if you take out the power plants, would the argument being it's not primarily civilian, because even though civilians might be affected, they need power in order to manufacture more missiles, more weapons, transport more people to fire the missiles from the launchers that remain and whatever drones remain. But at what point does this potentially risk some civilian pushback, Jennifer? I mean, people who wanted us to come in and do our thing and clear the way, and then they go, wait a minute, now I don't have lights on. I get what you guys are doing. That's a delicate thread the needle act, no?
It is, but it's so surprising, Randy. If you listen to President Trump explain what the Iranian people are going through and the messages that they are getting from within Iran, please don't stop the bombing. They are living in hell, and they fear it's so wild. They fear far more us making a deal with this regime and the status quo of those evil doers staying in power over them than they do losing their own power plants. And you can just see the contrast. America, leave no man behind. We will use 155 aircraft. We'll do whatever it takes to rescue our man.
Right.
Iran, their state TV last night, they were telling parents to bring their little children to surround the power plants, just hoping, I guess, that we don't blow them up. It's evil.
Mothers, fathers, take your children by the hand. Come out to the street. Do you want your son to be a man? Let him feel he's a hero in the battlefield, commanding the battle. Mothers, fathers, send your children at night to the roadblocks. These children will turn into men.
Or martyrs.
Martyrs, that's right.
Yeah, and you know what? Here's another idea. How about you open the damn Strait of Hormuz?
Yeah.
How about that?
Okay.
They'd rather little children die. And then when Trump it was chilling listening to him describe how, we had 500,000 women in Iran marching for their freedom. They put 5 snipers on the top of 5 different buildings and started shooting them right between the eyes at random, killing them.
And kids, too. I mean, they take no hostages. They executed
more teenagers yesterday.
Yeah, they take no hostages. They are ruthless, heinous, demonic, satanic people.
No value of life of their own people or the suffering of their own people. But their relatives live in privilege in the United States, get to be, over here in bikinis or as professors and everything else. So their whole thing about America being the great Satan is a whole bunch of Bravo Sierra. They don't actually believe it. They're using this as an excuse to keep their people down. And it's so wrong on so many levels. So that's the incredible thing to me, that the Iranian people, when they don't hear the jets going overhead from the Israelis or the Americans anymore, they fear not that they're in trouble from the Israelis and the Americans, but that we're making a deal with their evil regime. Wild.
I'm wondering if maybe this is the moment tonight, tomorrow morning, when the dust clears, the smoke blows away, assuming that, in fact, those attacks do escalate and power plants and bridges are decimated. Will there be some kind of a message to the people like, this is your moment, take back your country? When is that going to happen? I think we're all waiting for that.
Well,
right?
Trump says he understands you do need to stay inside because, I mean, the Iranian people are saying, I've never felt so seen before. He understands what's going on in our country. They're murdering their people. They took a machine gun out earlier this year and started killing their own people. So, yeah, it's really tricky. And he said, I understand, stay inside.
Well, I understand that, and I get that. But at what point, when does that message turn to it is now your turn? Because there's going to be resistance. There's going to be embedded resistance with handguns, long guns that still exist when they blow up bridges and power plants. With the IRGC, I mean, they're going to fight to their own death because obviously there's a reward in heaven when they have their own death. And so those people are embedded in the neighborhoods, in the communities, in the civilian infrastructure. I'm not saying that they need to stay sheltered at some point for some amount of time. I'm just curious as an observer, when is that moment going to happen when the people say, it's our time, and some of us are going to probably bite the dust in our effort to take back our country. I'm just asking.
Trump was saying, it's your time. They came to the streets, and they murdered and butchered 40,000 of them with machine guns, etc. Trump, if the audio from Trump yesterday talking about this, that the Iranian people were like, I feel so seen, thank you, President Trump, from yesterday. It's a little long. Maybe we'll get a chance to play it later in the show. It was just, I listened to it multiple times, and it's just stunning.
Yeah, no, we have that. At the same time, we had the Easter egg roll. So a lot of good things, a lot of fun happening. We've got some fun sound from that.
Oh, yeah.
Later on, we're going to talk to Senator Nick Schroer. He is, of course, the leader of the Missouri Freedom Caucus. And a really cool bill that I don't know, it just passed under my radar. And it's passed out of the Senate, so it's making its way through. We'll tell you about that. An exciting thing. Emulates a bill out of Florida that Governor DeSantis signed yesterday concerning what kind of laws we're going to abide by and not abide by in this state, just in terms of worldview. That's fun. And more coming up here on Wake Up Missouri. Don't miss it all morning. Jennifer in for Stephanie. I'm Randy. There's John Marsh. He'll be back with the Daily DC Rundown. Drake's giving me the gotta get out. We'll get out.
It's Wake Up Missouri.
Here's Jennifer with the Daily DC Rundown.
President Trump held a high-stakes press conference at the White House yesterday detailing the dramatic rescue of 2 U.S. Air Force crew members. The F-15E Strike Eagle was shot down over Iran earlier this week. Special Operations Forces pulled the wounded aviator and his wingman from behind enemy lines in a daring nighttime mission deep in the mountains. Trump praised the operation, but issued fresh and pointed threats to Iran. He warned the entire country could be taken out in one night if officials don't reopen the Strait of Hormuz and reach a ceasefire deal by 8 p.m. Tuesday Eastern Time. Diplomatic channels remain active, but tensions are high as the conflict that began February 28th continues to rattle global oil markets. Iran seems to be taking Trump's power plant Tuesday threat seriously. The Marsh petrochemical special economic zone in the southwest of Iran has been evacuated amid threats that Trump will bomb it. And the Iranian media is calling for parents to bring their children to form human shields around power plants throughout the country. Further, in an attempt to silence critics living abroad, the Iranian regime is increasingly using persecution and the arrest of family members still within their country when those Iranians abroad criticize the regime. Back on Capitol Hill, the partial shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security is now in its 8th week. Lawmakers from both parties are under growing pressure to pass funding for TSA, Coast Guard, and border operations. The president has directed back pay for affected federal workers, but no deal has been reached. The Secret Service is investigating reports of gunfire near Lafayette Park across from the White House over the weekend. No injuries were reported. And in light of the President Trump firing U.S. AG Pam Bondi, rumors are swirling about who may be tapped to replace her. One name in particular will be familiar to you, Missouri Senator Eric Schmidt. And where's Andrew Bailey in this mix? Haven't heard.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I thought Bailey was maybe sort of on the batter's deck. I don't know.
Yeah, because he was on the short list when Bondi got the job originally.
Yeah.
Schmidt turned it down when Bondi got the job originally. It was also the news reported at the time. So what would have changed to make him interested in the job now? It's unclear, but Post-Dispatch and Missouri Net both reporting that his name keeps coming up in the mix as a potential replacements. If that were to happen, then Kehoe would have to replace, this Schmidt. And what seems to happen is they appoint the AG every time. Then you have to appoint an AG, and on and on and on the dominoes fall. If you put some state senator in there, that could really shake things up. You throw that in the mix with Graves not running for his congressional seat, us getting our Missouri first map, so we're going to maybe get 2 different new Republican senators from Missouri. It's shaping up to be possibly a much more interesting election year than it first was scheduled to be.
That's the Daily DC Rundown. Jennifer's in for Stephanie. John, Stephanie, let's let our imaginations run wild here in the last 35 seconds of this. So let's see. Eric Schmidt gets appointed to AG.
Yeah.
And confirmed. Cindy O'Loughlin.
Ooh.
For senator. She's quite effective, and she's able to mend bridges.
And is she tight with Kehoe?
I don't know.
That'll be what it comes down to. Kehoe could look this up last night. He could actually appoint himself.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. The speculation runs rampant on Wake Up Missouri. All right, guys, let us know. Wake Up Family, 573-874-9390. If Eric Schmidt were to leave the Senate to become the Attorney General, who should replace him as Missouri's next senator? Hey, we're back on Wake Up Missouri on this Tuesday, another busy Tuesday, as the big news tonight will be what happens at 7 p.m. our time. Mm-hmm. Will all heck be unleashed on Iranian infrastructure, power plants and bridges? Trump gave a 48-hour warning on Sunday.
He sure did.
I wasn't the only one that was a bit ruffled over that at our Easter gathering. Among many patriots at the Easter gathering, with Trump's
Which part?
verbiage.
Did you like the crazy bastards? Did that bother you? The F-bomb or the praise to Allah? Which part did you disagree with?
Crazy B-turds didn't. I mean, I thought it. I don't know. That was fine. Whatever. That's Trump. I don't understand on the day of the resurrection day of our Lord why he uses the word Allah. I guess it was to be
facetious.
Can there ever be a 24-hour period where Donald Trump just isn't facetious? I don't know.
Let's hope not, Randy. Let's hope not. I'm enjoying this era.
Yeah, you're enjoying this, and I get that. I continue to ask the question. There are independent people who would vote for Donald Trump who are telling me that they are finding it increasingly difficult to cope with his rhetoric. This is not Randy's verbiage. This is people I talk to who are generally supportive of his policies, but are concerned about the rhetoric and about the verbiage and would just like him to turn it down a notch. I know that many of you in Wake Up Family disagree with me. Many of you agree with me. But again, don't we want to win? Don't we want to win? Don't we want to keep the Senate and the House in Republican hands? Don't we want Trump to hand the baton because of a very successful second term to J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio or name that next? But when the brand is being, I think it's fair to say, might be being tarnished because of the hyperbolic rhetoric. Again, in the independent mind, looking at it from the independent, swing voter, because those are the people that make the difference. Not the people who were at Boone County Lincoln Days, not the people who are at the Cole County Lincoln Days, not the people who are at Springfield County, at Greene County Lincoln Days. I'm just asking the question because people in my own orbit who are very supportive of the president, who are very supportive of the military operation, are not supportive of the hyperbolic rhetoric, sometimes ill-timed. Okay, Jennifer, your turn. Vice chair of the Republican Party in Missouri, Jennifer Bukowski.
Trump is not going to change. You and I are like that meme with the roller coaster. One of us has their arms in the air and the other one's clinging on for dear life as we live through this Trump administration. But the man is not going to change. So my advice, it's like the serenity prayer. Accept the things that you cannot change. You're not going to change Donald Trump's personality. He's not going to change the way he approaches social media and his communication style. So my recommendation is either if you can't tolerate it, ignore it, or be like me and enjoy it.
So what do you say to independent-minded folks, many of which who aren't listening to this program, but are trying to decide how to cast their next vote? And they say, man, I generally agree with things that are happening, but man, I got hurt by the tariff back and forth and convulsions. And I'm using this in quote, sometimes the reckless behavior and decision-making because it's so unpredictable that it does affect people personally, right? It affects them. And then the rhetoric, on the other hand, people go like, and I understand Sandy is getting, we all know that in our own echo chamber here. We all get that. I'm asking about the people who make the difference in elections. It's not the people who say, oh, yeah, I got my hands in the air. It's fun watching him. Yeah, it's fun watching him. But it's also, there's a political angle to this, no?
There's a strategic angle, too. He had to turn it up a bit to get their attention with that post on Sunday, to let them know that he means it. Like he's drawing this line and that this is different. Like get the heck out of the Strait of Hormuz or there will be big consequences to you because, they'll be able to cripple the IRGC's ability to function within their own country if they take out these power plants and bridges. And then, so that's a bargaining chip that he has. Mm-hmm. And he used that language to get their attention and to let them know he's serious. And the praise be to Allah thing, that was like next level just to get there. I think that's something that's going to be communicated throughout Iran, even though they're in an internet blackout. The word of that is going to get out. And so I think that there's strategy involved in him using that tone for sure.
Okay. That's a very, very staid argument. It's a solid argument. John, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Jen. I think just personally, not from covering it and all, the rhetoric, like you said, the F-bombs and all that stuff, it's, and he's been accused, of not being presidential in his speech, and he doesn't care. He does it for effect, kind of page right out of Art of the Deal. But yeah, tone it down a little bit because there's worries about the midterms.
Yeah, I want to win. I want the long game to win. I want this movement, this conservative America first principles, tight borders, manufacturing. I want all that to happen, but you've got to have longevity in the circles in D.C. that make those decisions. And when there's threats to that because people who don't get it, who can't overlook Trump being Trump, decide I'm done with it. I can't do this anymore. Maybe they still vote for another person in that movement. Perhaps you hope that. Drake?
I agree with you, Randy, actually. God, I'm turning more into you as the days go by.
This is a first. Mark that win, would you?
Well, no. I mean, there's 364 days of the years that I'd be okay with this, but like on Easter, we say that the left is so hateful, they're so whatever, and then on Easter, the day we're supposed to be celebrating our Lord rising, we're saying F-bombs and saying praise be to Allah. I mean, you couldn't time that more poorly. Like,
that's the point.
Okay. But it was not about Americans. This was a message to the Iranian regime at the beginning of their work week. The beginning of their work week is on Saturday. So it was a work day for them. And he is putting it out there. You got 48 hours to get your stuff together.
But he's the American president. I mean, this is for Americans. He
wants to win. He wants America to win. He wants this conflict to be successful. He's not winning over my vote by saying that on Easter.
If I was talking to the president on Sunday morning, I'd have said, and, he just typed that out, I would have said, before you hit send, Mr. President, this is a very solemn and a very happy, beautiful, freedom unleashing day for millions and hundreds of millions of Americans. And it's an occasion where they're singularly focused on the most important day in the Christian calendar. And for you to use that terminology that sort of emulates or at least references the antithesis of their religion, man, that's a tough stretch. You're asking them to connect a lot of dots. And I understand, Jen, but is everyone as immersed in politics and in the meaning and in the connection and the first day of their... I don't know that everyone's that in America that day in all of their beautiful finery and the women in their beautiful hats and their dresses and the men in their finest and listening to great messages. I just don't know that hits home in the right way with them.
Well, crazy... Are we not allowed to say, we could say bastards, right? He called them crazy bastards. Their women are in trash bag outfits over there while ours are free to dress up in our beautiful Easter regalia. Yeah. I think that was an apt description of this regime, crazy bastards. And then mocking them with the praise be to Allah, I'm all over it. Yeah, I think that was, in keeping with celebrating our Christian traditions. Like, our culture is superior to yours. Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, no, I get it. And I see where you're coming from. And I think those of us who got it sort of gets that, right? But I'm not sure that everyone is that immersed in the meaning and the nuance of it and all that. I don't know. We'll see where it all comes out. I just don't want people who are erstwhile Trump supporters finally saying, I can't take it anymore. I'm done. And given a better alternative or a different alternative that embrace. If you get someone like a Governor Shapiro or not a Newsom, but someone who can sort of embody and express those same values, I don't know if there's a Democrat out there that can do that. I just wonder what happens in 28.
Angela agrees with you. She said, I like Trump's spirit and blunt edge, but he gets too arrogant and the poor rhetoric. We can't change him, just need to pray for him. So she kind of agrees with me, too. You can't change the guy at this point. Yeah. Just got to be accepting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does so many things right. His decisiveness is such a beautiful thing to see.
And he's underestimated still to this day. Like, you think he just randomly came up with that tweet? I think that there was strategy behind it and thought put into it.
Yeah, well, I that's why it's so fun to talk about it every morning on Wake Up Missouri. That's Jennifer Bukowski. In for Stephanie Bell, I'm Randy Tobler with John Marsh and Drake Whitman. It's an unbelievably fascinating, just revealing time in America's history. Which way are we going to go? Are we going to go down the path of ultimate transparency, just shoot from the hip, say what you feel along every curve? Or are we going to have a little more restraint, at still in more of a Ronald Reagan kind of a way, with humor and with a smile, and still disarming your enemy? I don't know.
Well, Gavin Newsom, he's decided to drop the F-bomb constantly, but he is completely non-transparent and completely phony. I'd rather have an authentic guy drop an F-bomb once in a while.
No doubt about it.
Than to have some sleazy, just disingenuous liar like Gavin Newsom, who also drops F-bombs.
Yeah. No,
in charge of our country.
I love a lot of and you talk to you talk to service members, and they are like kids in a candy store with the new rules of engagement. The way the Department of War is being run with. Now we're warriors. That's what we're supposed to do, rather than this namby-pamby, Joe Biden, mushy war. And I love that about Trump and about Hegseth. I think that's great. I just would like to see him just reel it back just a little bit.
Don't get your hopes up.
Just a little bit now and then. That's my opinion. We welcome yours. 573-874-9390. 800-529-5572. As I said, coming up later, we're going to be talking with Senator Nick Schroer about what's happening from his view and his perch as the leader of the Missouri Freedom Caucus. And then at 8 o'clock, we talk with, we'll have a great conversation with Jay Town, who is a former U.S. Attorney from Alabama and also a former Marine. Talk to him about the action over in Iran as we keep our eyes on Iran, the negotiations, what is going to happen, if anything, and have the 8 o'clock line in the sand that the president drew. Make Missouri healthy again when we come back.
It's Wake Up Missouri.
Well, for Make Missouri Healthy Again today, wanted to talk a little bit about medical anxiety. It's becoming an increasing problem. Anxiety in general is high in our society. Have you noticed that? People have a lot of anxiety, a lot of worry.
They use that term anxiety for things that we used to. I'm a young Gen X. We used to just call that, oh, I'm stressed out. We didn't say that I have anxiety. That was something like, was a mental disorder.
Yeah.
We just said stressed.
Well, what I recommend is that you always remember that if you look back at your life experience, how many times has the anxiety actually been outweighed by the reality? In other words, you get all worked up over a test result, or maybe you're due for a colonoscopy, or you're due for a mammogram. And I mean, I get my screenings too. I put them off like everyone because of the same, there's something better to do that's more fun, And I think that's true. But on the other hand, I'd like to reassure you that because of the amazing, speed of light advances in medical technology, often aided by AI in terms of diagnostic accuracy, that's going to really become even more and more obvious as we move on. And especially when it comes to the worst kind of things like cancer, or you think about heart disease. My God, I got some plaque in my arteries. I don't want to know about it. I just rather, Well, let me tell you that the many of the advances that have happened in the last 20 to 30 years are a result of that sort of 1-2 punch in medical science of early diagnosis and effective treatment for that. There used to be a time when early diagnosis didn't mean as much. It's like, oh, you got a bad disease, not much we can do about it, you know. And I can understand that mentality. Well, why would I want to know if there's not a whole lot to do about it with certain diseases? That is becoming less and less true. And in fact, more and more diseases, things like ovarian cancer comes to mind, are really now being managed more and more often as just chronic diseases.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I'm not saying that these are things that you want to be diagnosed with, obviously, but learning early, colon cancer is really largely a preventable disease, and we're finding that with expert eyes, sometimes with the help of, but not exclusively by AI-guided technology, radiology tests and others, analyzing in the hospital when you come in and you've got a fever and you're sick and you feel terrible, everything's aching. They can discriminate between when you have the early signs of sepsis, which is a deadly disease if it's not dealt with early, by putting together a matrix of your symptoms, your vital signs, certain blood tests, and actually AIing that in a way. And they can say, hey, Jennifer's on her way to sepsis, but before she gets there, let's give her some antibiotics. Let's do this, let's do that. And reverse what can be a deadly disease. And the deadlier, it's deadlier the older and maybe with other problems that you have.
So what are you saying, that they should be getting diagnosed, but they have too much anxiety to go get this stuff figured out?
That's what's happening. A lot of people are worried about the results of that test. I don't really want, it said reverse psychology. It's like, I don't know. I don't want to get a bad result.
Ignorance is bliss.
But let me reassure you, finding out early really does make a difference.
So don't FA, FO.
Instead. There you go. That's right. Don't FA, FO. Exactly. You're exactly right. And one person who was diagnosed with cancer 22 years ago, and this is the Wall Street Journal story, was given 18 months to live 22 years ago. Huh. He handles it more like, you might do with a job interview. You don't know if it's going to work out or not, but just, go along for the ride. It's an experience. And, there was a guy that wrote a book about, he did have a terminal illness. He said, fascinated with my illness. Huh. It's an interesting way to look at it. Look at it the way you do politics. Whether you agree with Trump or you don't, just watch it as an observer and, let the patient take over, the patient in you take over. And I think you'll find that the medical science really has an awful lot to offer, so much more than even just a decade or two ago. Anxiety doesn't need to rule your life. When we come back, Senator Nick Schroer.
From the Zimmer Radio Network headquarters,
I have never been more proud to be an American.
it's your morning addiction. Wake Up Missouri with Stephanie Bell.
It will be traveling further than any manned rocket has ever flown and will very substantially pass the moon, go around it, and come back home.
The Zimmer News Team.
But also it's something Americans can rally around with confidence.
And now introducing your host, Randy Tobler.
Welcome back into Wake Up Missouri on this little overcast Tuesday. I saw a little snow in the forecast. Like for half an hour, there might be a little snow in mid-Missouri. Mixed with rain. Well, that won't get in the way of Senator Nick Schroer doing what he's doing as the leader of the Missouri Freedom Caucus. Nothing gets in the way of Senator Nick. Welcome into the program, Nick.
Hey, for snowflakes. Snowflakes never get in my way.
That's a winner. That's a good one. Hey, I was something flew beneath my radar, maybe many in the audience, and that was this bill that you sponsored that is making its way through the legislature. And it's already been passed and signed. I think Governor DeSantis signed a similar bill in Florida. Tell us about how you're going to protect our values in governance. I think that's the way I look at the broader picture, but this one's really cool.
Yeah, so this bill, something that I've been working on over the summertime, actually the past couple of years. This is something that came on my radar when I first got into the legislature back in 2017 in the Missouri House. And it was a bill that was signed, or that was actually passed by the legislature when we had a Democrat governor, Jay Nixon, who vetoed it. It came up one vote shy, and I want to say that was back in the 2014 era. So fast forward, we finally get this rolling in the Senate. Myself, Senator Joe Nicola, he's a sweet mate of mine. We've been working on this for several months now and trying to keep it under the radar because I know there's a lot of speculation as to what this bill does, what it doesn't do. So essentially, it does one thing. It says Missouri laws for Missouri courts, American laws for American courts. Nothing is going to see it. No World Economic Forum, no World Health Organization, no Sharia law. Nothing is going to supersede our laws. It's very concept to those that practice law on a day-to-day basis if it conflicts with it. So essentially gave us some time to work with all the legislators. I know there were several Democrats who were wanting to filibuster this thing that we had to sit down with several weeks now and just kind of go over the court precedent on cases that have challenged these types of laws in different states like Arkansas. You're going to see Texas and other states that have passed something very similar. And what we did, we passed this in a bipartisan last week. It now heads over into the Missouri House where Chad Perkins, who is in leadership, is going to be the one handling this for us, hopefully getting it to the governor's desk.
Now, while it's called the No Sharia law, it really, as you mentioned, has a broader scope, right? I mean, that's a catchy one because we all have watched what's happened to England, which is now becoming, there are certain enclaves where even the police aren't welcome, right? And God knows we don't want to go there. But I mean, I like the idea that it really makes sure that our law is never superseded by any international globalist kind of an intention.
Well, back during COVID, there was broad speculation that the World Health Organization was going to somehow get signed over by Joe Biden, get all of these powers in times of emergency or global pandemics. And I think it was one signature away from actually at least on paper, looking that way, that we were going to hand over a lot of our authority. And that's, why we couple in some of those organizations as well. All of these foreign entities, if there's a foreign law, a foreign or a religious law like Sharia conflicts with the U.S. Constitution, Missouri Constitution, or Missouri statute, our laws reign supreme. American laws for American courts. There are some carve-outs if you are a small business or a big business, rather, that has a presence overseas, and let's say you're in United Arab Emirates and you've signed on to some treaty working with them over there because you have a presence. That's your own prerogative. That's on you. If you want to have some sort of some acceptance of global treaties or certain laws over there while you're there, that's fine. But if you break the laws in the state of Missouri or if you break the laws in America, our laws reign supreme. And that's, I think, once we broke that down to some of the Republicans that had some questions about, is this going to get thrown out? No, we walked them through all of that. So a lot of work behind the scenes, but essentially a very common sense law that is much needed. I'm glad to see Governor DeSantis, an OG. I know you mentioned the Freedom Caucus. He was one of the founders of the House Freedom Caucus many years ago, and he has just been rocking and rolling in Florida. But again, if we can tag team with Florida on some of these issues, like getting rid of income tax, getting rid of Sharia law, making sure that our laws reign supreme, I think it's going to be good for everybody.
That's Senator Nick Schroer from Missouri's Senatorial District Number 2. I'm Randy Tobler, Jen Bukowski in for Stephanie, John Marsh, and Drake Whitman on Wake Up Missouri.
Senator Schroer, I am particularly pleased by the anti-Sharia provisions because people try to laugh this off. But in Texas, in the Tribunal of Dallas, founded in 2014, handles 300 cases per year for marriage, divorce, custody, and inheritance in mosque settings using law offices with traditional Sharia law rules. Those rules, a woman's testimony is half that of a man, a woman inherits half as much, and it's easier said than done for women stuck in these communities to go access the real courts. So I don't like the fact that these things are operating within our country. I'm glad Texas is moving to eradicate them. I know we came close to having a similar type of community like a few years back in Missouri, so I'm glad that you're getting ahead of the curve with regard to that. Is that why you're motivated to pass this bill?
Yeah, that's one of the big reasons. We're seeing it spreading, not only from across the pond in the UK. We're seeing it in Minnesota. We're seeing it in
Texas.
In New York. We're seeing it in Texas as well. There's a large cricket field in my district, and a lot of these players, we travel across the U.S. You got UK that have a presence in a certain state. You've got Australia presence in certain states, and there is a growing Muslim group that's taking over the cricket presence. And there's certain rules that women have to have their faces covered. You can't have alcohol, and all of these different rules that are very similar to the implementation of Sharia in their cricket teams. And they've even stated that they're not going down there because it's getting so violent. It's getting so dangerous if you are a woman and you say, no, do this stuff. So, yeah, we're even seeing the implementation in courts. And that's one of the things that we really need to strike a balance. I know some of the Democrats are saying this isn't a problem in America. Yes, it is. And here's why. And I think some of those examples really helped get them over the hump to vote yes on this bill. But we don't want it to be a problem. We want to make sure that we cut the head off the snake before it does become a problem. Because, again, this is a very common sense bill. American laws for American courts. If you want to practice your religion, that's fine. You can do that. But if you break the law, you're not going to get a get out of jail free card just because you threw acid in the face of your wife or stoned a gay person who disrespected you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is so common sense. I'm a little troubled. Well, I'm a lot troubled that there were Democrats that actually had a problem with this. I don't know. That's worrisome, Nick.
Well, yeah, if you criticize the Prophet Muhammad, that's right. Why those guys were bombing in front of Mamdani's residence just last month.
Yeah.
If they don't do it, someone else will, because that's what their religion compels them to do.
Senator Nick Schroer joins us on Wake Up Missouri.
Senator, only a few weeks left in the legislative session. Where are we at with the elimination of the income tax and the spinoff effect on real and personal property taxes?
Yeah, it's a great question, and one that I'm going to be working diligently on to make sure we get this to the people of Missouri to vote on later this year. And it was heard this past week in Senator Ben Brown's committee. I'm not on that committee. I had a couple members looking over to me because I was sitting on the committee, just listening to the testimony. There were a ton of small business owners, ton of people there for and against it, and it appeared that all of the people who were against it were jumping to conclusions that this is somehow suddenly going to result in the increase of sales tax everywhere. And I'm glad to see certain senators that were able to ask questions who were on the committee broke that down and said, no, this is not that whatsoever. And again, quite simply, this goes to the voters. It goes in our Constitution to make sure that, if the legislature ever becomes more leftist or we have a Democrat leadership in the House or the Senate, they're not going to be able to change that statute very quickly without going back to the people. So this would enshrine in our Constitution. We're going to zero. If anybody wants to change it, you got to go in front of the people once again. And it's tied to our growth. It's tied to our revenue growth, kind of like our current income tax setup is dwindling down. removes that cap. It goes all the way to zero, removes the floor rather, so we can go all the way to zero in the next 10 to 30 years. Now, in the next session, if this does pass, then yes, the jury will have to come up to the Capitol and make their voices heard on what plan they would like. If we don't do anything, legislature may pass to zero in the next. Is that a lot of people?
Ooh, cutting out
over the next couple? Yeah.
Yeah. Hey Nick, it's your signal's cutting in and out. Unfortunately, I don't know. Are you in a cave somewhere, Nick?
Can you reach a landline?
I'm in Defiance, Missouri, in the sticks out here.
Ah, okay, there you go.
Essentially, over the next couple of years, it is our duty to figure out, if we want to make this faster, if we want to make this tax cut faster, there are a million different ways to do it, but this bill does not touch sales tax.
All right. Hey, next time we get together, I would like to talk with you about this prenatal education bill you have. Briefly, it seems to emulate what's going on in South Dakota. Where there's making sure that kids in younger grades know the actual developmental stages of babies, and that will have a real impact on maybe their feelings about abortion.
100%. If we're going to teach sexual education, that is one part of it. If you want to keep your baby, let's figure out how to do that. If you want to educate kids on what an abortion actually is, that should be part of sexual education as well. All the consequences of sex.
Does it have legs this year?
This year, it's been heard out of the Education Committee. It's been voted out. It has not seen any floor action this year. So if you want to see some floor action, reach out to leadership in the Missouri Senate and ask them to take that in.
All right. Well, we'll have Senator O'Loughlin on very soon, we hope, and we'll talk with her about that. Hey, thanks so much, Nick. Appreciate it. I love the bill about Sharia law. I love this prenatal education bill. Keep up the good work. Thank you, sir.
Me on.
All right.
God bless you all. Have a great week.
Same to you. Yeah, we haven't heard near as much about tension between leadership and the remnants of the Freedom Caucus.
Isn't that refreshing?
Yeah, I wonder why.
They seem so much more functional.
There seems to be a missing link there maybe this year.
Yeah, I wonder, if it was a bill or what exactly is happening.
A bill with a capital B.
Isn't Bill Eigel running for isn't he running for a county office, or is that done? Hey, today's election day, speaking of running for county office, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, get out and vote. Make sure you do that. There was an emotional moment on Artemis. We'll cover that when we come back.
It's Wake Up Missouri.
especially meaningful for this crew is a number of years ago we started this journey in our close-knit astronaut family, and we lost a loved one. And there's a feature in a really neat place on the moon, and it is on the near side, far side boundary. In fact, it's just on the near side of that boundary, and so at certain times of the moon's transit around Earth, we will be able to see this from Earth. And so we lost a loved one. Her name was Carol, the spouse of Reed, the mother of Katie and Ellie. And if you want to find this one, you look at Glushko, and it's just to the northwest of that, at the same latitude as Ohm, and it's a bright spot on the moon. And we would like to call it Carol, and you spell that Carroll.
And you can hear him, his voice breaking up there. The woman on the mission is wiping the tears from her eyes. They all have a long hug. It's quite an emotional moment on Artemis as they named a huge landmark there on the moon in honor of the mission commander, Reed Weissman. His wife died. She's a pediatric nurse practitioner, I understand.
Oh, my gosh.
Died at like age 40-something, very young.
Oh, my goodness.
And of cancer. While they were all training, and they essentially become a family because they all train together as a unit, anticipating these measures. That occurred yesterday on the Artemis mission. They have surpassed the Apollo 13 record for farthest manned space mission in space, and now the gravitational pull of the moon pulled them back in, and they will break through that and come back to Earth. 4 days from now? So I think in Friday they're supposed to land, right?
That's the plan.
This is just the coolest thing. I just think it's so awesome.
They're still talking 2028 for a possible man back physically on the moon.
Yeah, I guess what they do the next mission, Artemis 3, will be they will take the lunar lander along with the command capsule, and they'll, I think, uncouple and recouple it to just simulate what would happen if the lander went down to the moon and then came back up. And, I remember watching that with eyes glued to the tube back in late 60s and on, for a couple more missions after that.
Do we have any updates on the space toilet? Is that
Yes,
thing,
we
is that
do.
puppy running?
Coming up shortly. We do have an update
I should
on
have
it.
guessed. John Marsh.
You'll want to stay tuned for that.
And the history thereof.
All right.
Well, it's good that they do these, they do these staged tryouts, if you will, to make sure that, the basic infrastructure is working. Some of it borrowed from old technology, a lot of it re-engineered with new technology. And to make sure that, not only for the, quote, short haul to the moon, short haul to the moon, that then that would be a jumping off place that they would actually have, I guess, like a colony there that would be a refueling or a jumping off spot, a springboard, if you would, to Mars.
I'd live on the moon. That sounds fun.
I don't know. Wouldn't it get boring after a while?
Think how far they can knock a softball on the moon, Drake.
I know. Talk about that drive going on and on and on and on, right? No, one of the things they were talking about yesterday, one of the astronauts who I think had either been, I think he was one of the, he'd been in the space shuttle for a long time. He said the recirculating, elements that they have, where they recirculate water, meaning, they have a purification system for waste and so forth. And air. How do you dispose of carbon dioxide? They have to figure that out. There's a lot that they have to do, and they're working on it. So, great stuff coming from Artemis. We wish them well. We continue to pray for their safety. When we come back, a troubling story out of Greene County, Jennifer Bukowski.
Yeah.
Has America been fair to
back on Wake Up Missouri on a Tuesday morning. It's Election Day. Get out and cast your vote. Take advantage of that privilege, that very sacred honor to be an American, to be a county citizen, a state citizen, whatever jurisdiction you're voting in predominantly today. There's city elections, of course, throughout, municipal elections, so make sure and get your voice heard. And I think we can,
board seats all across the area.
And I think we can say that in Missouri and in the various counties that our voice is heard, that I think I have a lot of confidence that my vote will not be diluted by some either dead person or illegal immigrant or, some other person that shouldn't be voting. I feel pretty good about that in Missouri.
Unless you're in Green Bay, right?
Yes, I do.
Jennifer Bukowski there in for Stephanie today. John Marsh, Drake, and Randy with you on Wake Up Missouri. Now, very troubling story, Jennifer, out of Greene County about another illegal immigrant. Holy cow.
This is just heartbreaking
and terrible.
Infuriating to read about. A Missouri teen made a heartbreaking plea for his life after realizing he had been lured by an illegal immigrant into a deadly ambush, prosecutors say. Miles Young, 15, was gunned down March 12th in Greene County, Missouri, when prosecutors said he was coaxed into believing he was meeting up with a girl before being confronted by his attackers. Witnesses described his anguished last moments as he pleaded with his attackers, "I just don't want to die."
So this 18-year-old illegal
allegedly
somehow coaxes this kid, this 15-year-old. He impersonates a girl, I guess online, right? And they arrange a meeting spot. This guy's name is Yefry, Y-E-F-R-Y, Yefry Archaga, A-R-C-H-A-G-A. And there's a second suspect, an 18-year-old, who also joined in the ambush. Both of them are facing first-degree murder charges, right?
Yeah.
And they led this guy, this little 15-year-old kid. Look at this guy with this little smile on his face. Miles Young. And
he fled on foot when this Archaga allegedly chased him wearing a black ski mask and armed with a Glock-style handgun. Defendant ambushed the victim, chased the victim on foot, and shot the victim as the victim was stating he wanted to live, according to documents obtained by the Springfield Daily Citizen.
After shooting Miles, this kid made a phone call, this 18-year-old, to someone about the incident, was braggadocious about killing him. Okay.
This is so preventable. If they had not had this open border, add Miles Young to the list of victims of Joe Biden's open border policy that's killing our young people. It's horrible. Look at how he was such a young, baby-faced 15-year-old.
Just a couple of weeks before he was basically murdered in cold blood, this young 15-year-old Miles made a heartfelt decision at church, giving his heart to Jesus during an altar call. Now, if you're on the left, if you know someone on the left, when you have that moment, I would like to know, and maybe you can ask someone that you know, because the argument that you'll hear from the left is, well, the majority of crimes, as a percentage of their representation in the populace, more crimes are committed by legal American citizens, whether they be migrants or native born.
So what?
Than that. But that's the illogical argument that you hear over and over, Jen, and I just don't get it. I mean, so
we have a responsibility to make sure the people coming in here are good, and aren't going to hurt us. I don't care if we have to put up with the Americans that commit crimes. We're stuck with them. There's no reason to let a bunch of people in that might commit heinous crimes like these without checking them, vetting them. My heart breaks for these parents, these Missouri parents who've lost their 15-year-old child senselessly.
If closing the border means saving one, I don't care, woman on campus, young man in Greene County, white male, older white bald male at a rally, it doesn't matter. One American's life by keeping our borders non-porous, how could you be against that?
I don't want to say I'm glad. I'm trying to word this in a way that isn't highly offensive, but If this was an American who did this, the worst part about it, he'd probably be free in 5 years.
No, he
for
wouldn't.
doing this.
Yeah. No way.
No, I mean,
no chance.
I've seen worse people get off the hook.
Oh, come on, dear. That doesn't happen. If you shoot someone in cold blood in Missouri, you're going to prison. First-degree murder is either death penalty or life without parole. This isn't California or one of these other nonsense states.
Well, I don't know. Have young people become so hardened and so galvanized as to what violence is? I mean, they see it on video games. They see it on TV. You can have Drake swooning. Oh, my God. Look, violence has become normative in our culture. It's normative. It's in the rap culture that everyone listens to. It's on our TV screens. It's on the silver screen. I mean, gratuitous. There's more gratuitous bloodshed and violence on the Netflix and on some of the Prime videos. My wife and I used to watch some of those. It's hard to find an action thriller that isn't just reffed with just blood everywhere. I mean, that's all it is. And, you can say what you say, but, now the F-bomb is becoming, now politicians are saying that from every pedestal, right? That's fine. Okay. Gratuitous violence everywhere. Okay. At some point, we're culturally just off the rails, aren't we? And at what point, how do we reel that back in?
Jen, in the Senate addressing that, they've got some juvenile justice reform legislation floating over there that involves transfer of juveniles and certifying them as adults and all that. They're working on this session. I know.
We've certified if a teenager did this in Missouri, they get certified as an adult and tried as an adult for this heinous crime. So it doesn't matter that this guy is 18, this illegal immigrant. 18 would have been adult anyway, but if he had been 17, he would have been certified as an adult with this fact pattern that's alleged here.
I don't know. It's crazy.
But he shouldn't have been here to do it.
That's the point. I mean, this is talk about preventive medicine. Well, this is preventive violence medicine, is to close the borders. And I don't know that I trust our vetting mechanisms. I'm not saying that people don't try to vet would-be immigrants, even if they apply it the right way in the right time. But I would say vetting needs to happen overseas at the embassy. And if it doesn't happen there, sorry, you don't get a chance to immigrate. And there's some countries
where I'm not that excited about letting anyone in from at this point. Afghanistan, we keep having terrorist attacks from people we let in from Afghanistan out of the kindness of our heart, to help them.
We were talking about the Chinese, the birthright citizenship arguments, and I said, look, there's a lot of great people from China working in this country, living in this country, running companies that maybe are either permanent citizens or have become naturalized. But because I don't trust our vetting mechanisms, and I do trust that the Chinese Communist Party is a deceitful organization.
For sure.
I just think it's time we just shut it down and say, look, the immigration faucet is off until we can fix the leak.
Yeah.
And it's not anything against Chinese or Afghanis or anyone.
Especially from water sources that have poison in it that we know about.
Good to continue the metaphor.
Someone is married, fell in love with an American. They're from Great Britain. Okay, come on. Germany. There's certain countries where we have a better record with. Let's just say that, okay, than other countries. And those countries that want to kill us, that chant death to America, etc., that needs a higher level of screening. I'm sorry, it just does.
And I don't know whether the screening is that reliable and that infallible that it can't be bypassed by deceitful people from other countries that wish to do us harm.
Especially when we have woke bureaucrats conducting the screening.
Yeah. Amen on that.
But Marco Rubio, he's cleaning some stuff up. And I love how he's kicking out the relatives of the Iranian regime people, because you don't think that's going to get around in Iran, that these women were running around in bikinis, et cetera. That's going to piss people off within Iran. And it's going to show, the that they don't believe in this whole, America's the great Satan stuff that they make them chant over there.
Right.
I mean, that is going to be something people gossip about. Like, that's some tea that is going to be spilled all over Iran. Trust me. The women are going to be talking about that over in Iran. Whoever has the fancy VPN to get access to that story is showing it to every woman she's able, if allowed to leave her house by her male owners, able to talk to. They're going to be talking about that. Yeah. I can promise you that.
Well, we're now 11 hours and 15 minutes away from D-Day, really, for the Iranian people.
Final countdown.
Because it's 7 p.m. our time.
If they do put kids around these power plants, what do you do?
And he has posted a New Truth Social, and we're going to come up with that. Here it is. A New Truth Social post by Donald Trump this morning, just 40 minutes ago, around 7 o'clock. A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. However, now that we have complete and total regime change where different, smarter, and less radicalized minds prevail, maybe something revolutionarily wonderful can happen. Who knows? All in caps. We will find out tonight, one of the most important moments in the long and complex history of the world. 47 years of extortion, corruption, and death will finally end. God bless the great people of Iran.
Boy, I hope Trump is right about that.
That is a nice post.
It has been 47 years of extortion, corruption, and death. If it finally ends tonight, that is a world-changing event. Let's pray that comes about.
That's an American president post right there.
Do you think that there's any chance that maybe the bombing the power plants is almost like a ploy, and like they're bringing all the children, all of the meat shields over there, and they're going to bomb somewhere else?
You wonder.
I mean, that could work.
Do you think they're amassing children and human shields now around those plants as we speak? My guess is they are.
Yes, they don't care about life over there.
Can you imagine being the president and having to make
the regime doesn't. The Persian people certainly care about their lives.
Jan, if you had validated pictures of human moats, if you will, around those plants, right? I mean, human shields.
Yeah, what do you do?
And you're the president. Do you pull the trigger tonight?
That's an excellent question, and let's talk about it.
I don't know. I'm glad I don't have to make that decision.
Me too, because you can't. I could argue it either way.
573-874-9390. On a lighter note, what do you have to say, John, when we come back?
A small step for man, a giant leap for the porta pot.
Toilet tales when we come back.
It's Wake Up Missouri.
There were some tense moments after Artemis 2 launched into space. The toilet on board was not accepting urine from the athletes. They saw a blinking fault light and reported the issue to NASA colleagues, who talked them through a plumbing fix that solved the issue. Then, after a second challenge with the space potty in working order again, the Artemis crew members were said to be, quote, relieved, close quotes. Nothing new. Apollo space journeys did not have the luxury of a toilet at all. Astronauts had to use the bag and funnel system and admit to even leaving bags of stuff on the moon. Nothing new. Apollo 10 had floating poo issues inside the capsule.
Ooh.
As for the early Mercury and Gemini crews, John Glenn described it as a plastic bag they duct taped to his butt. Alan Shepard, best known for peeing his spacesuit while still on the launch pad. And Dick Schweikfurt called the release of frozen pee against the sunrise a spray of sparklers. So at least he was alliterative.
What a poet.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
So everything is on the money, so to speak, and I'm sure with one female athlete, astronaut rather, and 3 guys, I think she has to get on them for their aim issues.
Does put the toilet seat down even apply in space?
That's a really good question. I'll tell you what, the guy, all this talk about the men competing in women's sports, it's been annoying how much it gets pointed out how much stronger men are than women. And now, thinking about this, you have another advantage. Like, it's easier to go to the bathroom in less than ideal circumstances for the guys, for peeing especially.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, enjoy your male privileged parts, guys.
They said they had one of the sidebar interviews on the NASA channel with the astronauts. They said everything was focusing on, the performance problems with the hardware, but they didn't talk about farting in space in a very closed facility with 3 other individuals, which apparently is none too pleasant.
Yeah, I can tell you there's some foods I would not let my husband bring up if I had to be stuck in a space shuttle with him. For that very reason. He can't open a window.
Let's talk to Bill, who's on the line. Welcome into Wake Up Missouri, Bill.
Yes, John Marsh. Hello.
Hi, Billy.
I want to take you back to 2017 when they had the total eclipse of the sun, which you had a large part to do with, as I recall.
That's right. I got to hang out and watch it with the governor.
Yeah. And anyway, I wanted to report that there was a guy, one of the astronauts that was there that day, Michael S. Hopkins, did a nice job on CBS on this current satellite or space system, and I just wanted to let you know or see if you remembered that.
Yeah, we do. Remember Governor Greitens at the time. I asked him, "You ever seen an eclipse before?" And he said, "Yeah, I saw one about 10 years ago in Sumatra or Malaya or somewhere."
Hey, thanks,
Okay,
Bill.
great. Thank you.
Appreciate the call. I remember there was a big telescope set up by an amateur astronomer outside our office building there, and everyone was taking a peek at it. It was really quite a happening. What, about 9 years? Was that 9 years ago now already?
Yeah.
2017.
Wow.
Holy
Wow,
cow.
9 years.
Greitens was still the governor, so yeah.
What a happening that was, huh?
It was cool.
Yeah. When we come back, we talk with Jay Town from the RNC, former U.S. attorney from Alabama, Newsmax contributor, and Marine, about the DHS shutdown and his response to the rescue in Iran and the pending actions there. Stay tuned for more on Wake Up Missouri.
American.
It's your morning addiction. Wake Up Missouri with Stephanie Bell.
It will be traveling further than any manned rocket has ever flown and will very substantially pass the moon, go around it, and come back home.
The Zimmer News Team.
But also it's something Americans can rally around with confidence.
And now introducing your host, Randy Tobler.
An area we may take a hard look at is some of these cities have international airports. If they're a sanctuary city, should they really be processing customs into their city? I mean, seriously, if they're a sanctuary city and they're receiving international flights, and we're asking them to partner with us at the airport, but once they walk out of the airport, they're not going to enforce immigration policy, maybe we need to have a really hard look at that, because we need to focus on cities that want to work with us.
Well, Mark Wayne Mullen having some actions have consequences talk there with Brett Baer last evening. Joining us now, Jay Town, who is the former United States Attorney for the North District of Alabama, also served in the Marines as judge advocate for over a decade, for 12 years. And he joins us now on Wake Up Missouri. Jay, thanks for being with us. Some pretty powerful talk from Mark Wayne.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate being on.
Pretty powerful talk there, right? In the midst of this DHS shutdown, and if they're not going to fund DHS, and if their Customs and Border are going to be tight on their finances, he's going to have to be efficient with the way he distributes those personnel. Wink, wink, right?
Yeah, I mean, I love it. This is exactly what we voted for. Secretary Mullins, Wayne Mullins is absolutely right. If you're a sanctuary city, we're going to pull our ports of entry from your cities because you don't want to fund us. Okay, Democrats. Well, your liberal cities that you represent and your airports, or perhaps even ports of entry by boat, will be pulled, and CBP will no longer be able to check people in for your tourism or your travel or your business interests.
Wow.
And that is absolutely what we voted for. And it's a reasonable measure given the funding cuts that DHS is facing by the Congress.
That would shut down those airports, would it not? Or at least the incoming...
Yeah, you couldn't have international flights. I mean, this is talk about coming up with a new tool in your toolbox that you always have had, but no one thought to use it.
That's an existential threat for international flights to their
Well, they'll
airports.
Have to fly to St. Louis. They'll have to fly into St. Louis or a red state that has an international airport as opposed to JFK Airport, as opposed to LAX.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I mean, you'll have to fly into Miami instead of Chicago.
No,
this is a huge threat
for a minute.
to these sanctuary cities.
Lost you for a minute there, Jay, but I mean, that's an existential threat to not only those airports, but the local economy.
Good. They deserve it.
And the pressure that this puts on. So those local representatives, as folks might sort of surmise, they have a great relationship with their federal representatives who are in the Congress or in the Senate. And when that starts impacting their people, and ultimately the senators and the congressmen, they are all very selfish, right? They are all very self-interested. And when that self-interest starts to wane, and the people of, let's say, Chicago or New York City or Miami, San Diego, LA, they start to hurt because of this, I didn't think this was going to impact us, right? I mean, we were just having protests and saying we want to defund ICE and CBP. Well, we didn't know there were real consequences to that. I mean, we just wanted to put on our blue wigs and hold our signs and our green frog costumes and run around the street. I mean, we didn't know that this was real, right?
That's Jay Town, who joins us on Wake Up Missouri, former United States Attorney for the Northern District of Alabama and Judge Advocate General in the United States Marine Corps, where he served for 12 years in active duty and as a reservist.
As a JAG officer, what's your take on the comments we're now hearing from the head of the UN threatening Donald Trump with war crimes over the strikes on Iran?
Yeah, unfortunately for the head of the UN or Chris Murphy, senator from Connecticut, or anybody else parroting this nonsense that the rules of engagement, the laws of armed conflict, international law, Geneva Conventions, Article 51 of the UN Charter. All of those things provide that you can target what they're considering civilian targets if there is a dual use to those targets. So let's say there's a power plant, right? Okay, it's just a power plant. It powers a bunch of neighborhoods and stuff. Well, it also powers the facility that builds missiles or powers the military base that is launching those missiles. Well, that is a military target now, and that's just how it is. And that is written down for everybody to read. Super convenient. The one thing about the law that I've always loved is that they took the time to write it all down. Right. So it was, we had it kind of in our back pocket if we needed it. And that's the same thing with these targeting packages. I was in charge of targeting for the Marine Corps, not the only guy, but there was a bunch of us. But that was one of my duties in the Marines during 2 wars. And we take great care to determine which targets we can and cannot hit. And that includes human beings. That includes, assessments of collateral damage, which would be civilian casualties or civilian targets that actually might be destroyed because of our military target. And we weigh those things, and the military benefit outweighs the collateral damage. Then we take the shot. That's war. This is not, again, it kind of sort of parallels back to what I was tongue-in-cheek about the protesters wanting to defund ICE and CBP. Well, it's sort of the same thing. Well, I didn't know that if we went to war that we had to kill people and destroy things. Right, the bad guys actually are going to have to suffer if they go to war with the United States. If they declare war for almost 50 years against the United States, death to America, and we finally have a president that has the intestinal fortitude to do something about it. And oh my, can you believe that there are IRGC soldiers dead on the road? I mean, my goodness, the humanity. No, it's not a war crime. Not even close to a war crime. And you know what, UN, come and get us. Go ahead. You know what? I don't think we're going to let you arrest us today.
Jay, in calibrating this and trying the calculus of whether or not to make that strike, if you're Donald Trump or Pete Hegseth, advising him and others, Iran State TV, other leaders are all over their media telling the world and inviting parents to send their children to be human shields around those facilities. Does that change the calculus at all? It's the same motives that Hamas, same techniques Hamas uses, right? Whether you put the military cells in hospital basements. What does that change anything?
I mean, it does, and that's because they know the rules. You know how they know the rules? Because we wrote them down. And so it does change the calculus. But, we have so I live in Huntsville, Alabama. Our industry primarily here is the defense industrial base. We have munitions that are so precise that they literally could take a balcony off a hotel and leave the hotel intact. So when, someone goes out to have their morning coffee, we can schwack that guy and nobody else gets hurt. But it does impact the targeting package. And people need to understand that this rolls up through several judge advocates, all the way up through the chairman of the Joint Chiefs and his advisors. There are civilian lawyers, and then there are military lawyers. And then it gets to the actual brass that are the military tacticians that make the decision. So this is well thought out. Iran would be, what are we, about 12 hours away, 11 hours away. They would be very wise to stand down. At this point, Iran, what's your best case scenario? To die? I mean, honestly, that's are you going to die for Allah? Open up the straits. They're not even negotiating the nukes anymore. So that's over with. That's a mission objective check. And so the rest of it, just submit. It's over. The world's the greatest military the world has ever known is swarming your country. We have attacked over 13,000 targets. We have shared the ocean with your Navy, right? The Iranian Navy gets the bottom half, and the the military leadership and the political leadership in Iran. There's at least 75 of them. The top 75 are dead. Right? If that happened in our country, AOC would be the speaker, right? So, I mean, we are at a point where Iran is, stop funding the Houthis, stop funding Hezbollah, Hamas, do not attack Israel, and you learn to coexist, or we're just going to keep this up. And we got more where that comes from, right? You do it again in 6 months, you're going to, epic fury is just going to be 2.0.
Well, the tough thing, Jay, is that we've drawn this line in the sand. Trump has said if you don't do the XYZ by 8 p.m. tonight, then we will blow up your bridges and your power plants. But then Iranian media is telling parents to bring their children to surround these power plants as human shields. What do you do in that situation? Do you have to follow through and blow up the plants, even if this crazy regime, they're like, parents, do you want your boy to be a man? But they're basically saying martyr him so he goes to get his 72 virgins. What do you do? Like, do you still follow through and bomb those plants if they surround them with children tonight?
Well, so we have great intelligence inside of Iran. So we would know if that is actually true, where there's a bunch of children occupying a power plant, for instance. And Israel has even better intelligence inside of Iran. Here's what's going to happen, though. Regardless, let's say all of our intelligence suggests that there's not a single soul alive inside of one of these power plants and we take it out. Iran is still going to, and this is the setup,
claim that we did.
They're still going to claim that there was 300 children in there having a Bible study, right? Praise be Allah. And so it just won't be true. But, Abby Phillip on CNN will still run with it in her A block.
I think it could be true. They don't have much compunction about their own people dying. That's what I worry about. But then you're just going to let this regime stay in place that kills their people all the time? It's such a tough decision. I'm glad it's not on my shoulders to make it.
Yeah.
It is. Well, it is. That's our military.
Well, Jay, with your vast experience, service to this country, and time with us this morning, can't thank you enough. Great analysis, and I think everyone's on the edge of our seats to watch this theater as the drama plays on. We hope to God that they are listening and just decide to stand down. Jay Town, thanks for being with us on Wake Up Missouri.
God bless our men and women of the armed forces, keeping us safe tonight, tomorrow, and the next day.
Amen.
Thank you, sir. When we come back, it's the Morning Bell with Jennifer in for Stephanie. Stay tuned.
It's Wake Up Missouri.
I hear the bell. How are the markets looking, Jennifer?
On Wall Street, stocks finished a little higher on Monday, April 6th. The Dow gained 165 points to close at 46,669. S&P rose 29 points to 6,611. Then the NASDAQ added 117 points. Reuters said investors were balancing better than expected March jobs data against slower services growth and a sharp rise in prices. Looking ahead, though, the futures are looking slightly lower ahead of opening bell today. Dow futures were down about 0.5%. S&P futures were also off about 0.5%. And NASDAQ's down 0.7%. Oil is the big story as usual. On Monday, crude settled at $112.40 a barrel. And so by Tuesday, oil is pushing even higher. And so that is really something to focus on as we look at the markets. Bitcoin is lower at 68,531. And so, that's the market update.
Yeah, this is the futures are now up to 150. Yeah, 115 now, the futures on the oil market. And boy, the prices at the pump just keep on going up and up and up and up.
Good time to be a Tesla driver.
Wow. I paid $4.89 a gallon for diesel the other day. And it was interesting. I was on the road yesterday. That's why I was out. And it seems like there was continuity. There was uniformity of pricing like I've not seen, at least in the diesel market, where normally there's some variation from town to town as you go, north or east or west. Everything seems to be very uniform. And I'm not clear why that is. I reached out to Larry Behrens, and he thought it maybe has to do with the wholesalers. They all get it from the same price, but I don't know.
That could be. They're all buying it from the same source.
Well, aren't they usually doing that? And I don't understand.
Yeah.
Maybe it's
talk about a complicated industry.
Maybe it's that no one wants to just be the first one to break the ice and maybe either raise the price a nickel or lower it a nickel, right, for competition's sake, or. And I imagine the margins are getting slimmer, right? Because they're having to pay higher and higher prices on wholesale. They don't want to raise the prices. So maybe wherever they see the largest, the highest price in a big market, like at a big truck stop or something, that then sets the market. I just, have you all in Wake Up Family seen that? More uniformity of prices, not as much variation. The classic distinction is between Boonville and everywhere else. Boonville is classically cheaper on gasoline anyway.
I used to pay attention to all this stuff, but I've been driving a Tesla for like 10 years now, and I don't even look anymore. I should, but I don't think to look like I used to always look when I passed a gas station and what the prices were, and I've just stopped doing that because it's irrelevant. It's not irrelevant, excuse me, but I just don't pay as much attention anymore because I just plug my car in when I get home.
That's a nice thing not to have to pay attention to.
Yeah.
So what happens when you go to Kansas City or St. Louis? Can you make it on one charge?
Almost. If I don't drive around much there, but otherwise you go to the supercharger and it's like $17 to get more than enough, way more than enough to get back home.
Yeah. Okay. So. And we talked last week about how there's some Scandinavian company. Is it Netherlands? No. Which one was it?
It was Finland.
Denmark. Finland. That's right. Finland that has apparently come up allegedly with a battery that is just like unbelievable. It's too good to be true kind of a battery. Charges in 10 minutes and, 100,000 cycles without burning out. I mean, unbelievable. And everyone's a little bit skeptical about that. But
those Scandinavian countries seem to be like the only ones. I assume Finland is Scandinavian. I might get called out on that. That come up with inventions besides us sometimes.
I know.
In Japan, they
I
are
was talking
good at
with
it
Drake
too.
about that battery in those Scandinavian countries. He said, if only they had good-looking girls.
Oh, yeah. They're so ugly over there. Everybody knows that.
Drake, you did say that, didn't you? He's speechless. All right, we'll be back with more on Wake Up Missouri. Stay tuned. We're back on Wake Up Missouri, and yesterday, of course, Jen Bukowski's in for Stephanie. Thanks for doing this and for hosting yesterday.
Pleasure to be here.
Great. Yesterday was a little bit of levity amongst all of the very heavy news that we report. Obviously, great news from Artemis. Uncertain news out of Iran with their own people being executed. The regime on the skids. And, of course, the inimitable Donald Trump came forth at the Easter egg hunt. And here's what he said about to some of the kids when he's sitting there. It looks like he's signing autographs on some of the eggs or something. Here we are.
You know what she is? She's a movie star who came in from Hollywood to be with you.
He's talking about Melania there.
He's pointing to Melania. You got a movie star that came here to be with you, he said. Really cute stuff.
Yeah, she is starring in Melania, the movie.
And here he is talking a little bit about Biden, doing some you-know-what talking on Biden.
Biden would use the autopen. He'd have an autopen problem. Joe Biden. He didn't sign. He was incapable of signing, he said. So they'd follow him around with this big machine. You know what it's called? An autopen. And he'd have the autopen signed. He'd take the paper, hand it to his guys, and sign it with an autopen, give it back. It's not too good, right?
He's telling these kids.
They're just looking at him like, wow, really?
Here's a little more.
Anybody in the egg industry vote for Kamala? A low IQ person. She's a low IQ person. Who's a lower IQ person, Biden or Kamala? Biden would use the autopen. He was incapable of signing his name. So they'd follow him around with this big machine. You know what it's called? An autopen. I can sign autographs. You can sell it for $25,000.
He said mine. Donald Trump, you're the best president.
Thank you, honey. I agree.
Donald Trump, you're the best president. Thank you, honey. I agree.
Yeah. No argument from President Trump on that take. Oh, it's
man.
so cute watching him talk to these kids about the auto pen, and like he's still ripping up Biden. And he's saying it in such a friendly, like grandpa type manner. He's pretty good with kids. But
he is great
it's
with
hilarious
kids.
that he's still giving them the hits. Oh my gosh.
Ken is on Wake Up Missouri. Thanks for calling in, Ken.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Good. What's going on?
I just want to say you guys are the biggest hypocrites in the world, making fun of Biden and this. When Trump's trying to bomb a country into like the third world, you guys are terrible, man.
Making fun of Biden for.
Where did we make fun of?
Talking about Trump's. You're sitting there making light of this stuff, and Trump's sitting here trying to bomb Iran into like. He said he's going to bomb it into like the culture, the civilization. You guys are making light of this. Trump's trying to do war crimes. You guys are laughing about stuff.
He's talking about blowing up their bridges and their power plants.
Yeah, we're actually
not killing the people.
We're actually very circumspect
about it. He was actually trying to talk about destroying their culture. That's what he said on this morning.
You have to take it in context to the threat. He's been specific about power plants and bridges. That's the plan.
That's still a war crime. That's not a military target. And
it's used to prop up the military operations.
Jay Town, who was
military target.
Yeah, Jay Town, who was our
military target. Okay,
well, Ken, instead of having a discussion, you kept talking over us. So we were just trying to, make an answer to you. That is a concern that we raised with Jay Town, who's a former JAG officer, and there are concerns about civilians who Iran claims they're going to place around these facilities. He said that the munitions industry, and he's currently a compliance officer, I think, for a defense and technology company. He said they're able to basically take someone out that goes out on their balcony from their apartment or their whatever, their suite, their condo, for morning coffee, and they can target that and take it out. So he's saying that, our strikes can be that targeted. Now, will there be mistakes?
Precise.
Mistakes can happen. It happened allegedly early in the war when that children's school, which was, 30 meters, 60 meters from a bona fide defense installation, they mistargeted that one. But all that said, war's ugly. And sometimes in order to save, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people, you need to, unfortunately, there's a few people who get, unfortunately, tragically in the way because their parents, and if parents put their children as human shields around these installations. I guess they'll have to answer to the God of the universe someday, right? I mean, that'll have to happen.
It's a tough situation. But the strikes will be precise. The people within Iran are the biggest cheerleaders for this action, and they're begging us not to stop because they're living in hell. They're living in hell. They're getting gunned down by their own government. They have no freedom. Yeah. I don't know what we're laughing at. We weren't laughing at that. In fact, we're very circumspect about that. In fact, so we're laughing about the Easter egg hunt. I mean, that's a totally different topic. Well, I don't know if we made fun of Biden and the Easter Bunny yet today, but the last time it's a contrast.
Biden didn't know where he was at his last Easter egg hunt.
Yeah.
And one of his handlers had grab him.
No, the Easter Bunny had to.
Well, that's right. It was one of his handlers. Maybe that was Marco Rubio as the Easter Bunny. That's his latest role.
No, it was too tall a rabbit to be Marco.
No, Ken, hey, I'm glad you listened. I'm glad you called. But next time, call us back and let's have a discussion about it, because you said your piece and then we were trying to have a conversation with you and we had a hard time, having that conversation. You're saying the opposition's talking points, which is, of course, that it is a war crime but it's a war crime if you target civilians. I don't believe it's a war crime if innocent civilians get caught in crossfire. Right?
Yeah, and the power plants, as Jay Town just explained, are used to build munitions. They're used by the enemy for the purposes of war. So that makes them fair game. That's the legal argument against it being a war crime to take out a power plant.
Yeah, we in fact recognize...
And bridges, that's always been something they take out during wars.
We recognized that tension. We looked at one another after the break and said, aren't you glad you don't have to make that decision? I'm glad I'm not Donald Trump having to make that decision. That's a tough one.
I can't even imagine.
And I referenced it earlier, and I'm going to say it because it sounds Pollyanna, but my God, I wish the leaders in Iran, I wish President Xi, I wish, Carville, Newscomb, Mamdani, I wish all of us, and for those on the radical right, for that matter, I wish everyone would take a look at what's going on up in space.
Yeah.
And maybe rethink this planet and the way we treat one another. And again, it's never the people, it's rarely the people on the ground, everyday citizens, gotten out of life, working hard, 9 to 5 and then 5 to 9, sometimes 2 or 3 jobs, trying to make ends meet, put food on the kids' table and clothes on their back. I don't think anyone wants this.
Yeah.
It's ambitious leaders that are power hungry, right? And it happens across the board. I just wish people would just step back and zoom back and imagine yourself on the far side of the moon looking towards the earth, right?
I'll tell you what, it's funny you bring this up because Hail Mary is the big blockbuster movie right now, written by Andy Weir. I just reread that. And The Martian, which he also wrote, they made a movie about it. And the whole world came together to save that astronaut stranded on Mars in that book. Yeah. So you never know. Sometimes, fiction comes to truth that maybe space can inspire humanity to rally together.
I think about human goodness.
If aliens show up like green little green men, I bet we all set aside our differences if we have to take them on.
Drake?
Okay, Jen, have you heard of the conspiracy theory about aliens and all of that?
I keep hearing stuff.
Okay.
I haven't. There's so many of them, but apparently there's some footage that they're demanding be released that will blow your mind.
The big conspiracy behind aliens and why the government's been releasing them is because they think that if there are aliens and there is an actual threat, that they can create a world order. I'm not saying I believe it, but that is one of the theories. And doesn't Earth freeze over in Project Hail Mary? I thought that was the whole thing that was happening on Earth.
Yeah, I mean, it could. That's what they're trying to stop.
Yeah. And Dwayne makes a point about the Iran deal. We had caller Ken who claims that it's a war crime if Trump takes out power plants and bridges. And I guess that would be the case if the goal was to target the civilian population. But when civilian infrastructure is used and really positioned by the military to be their primary mechanism of perpetuating carnage against its own people. And as Dwayne said, isn't it a war crime for Iran's government to kill 60,000 of its own people?
Yeah, it's
And
with
people,
machine guns. And then when the women were out there protesting, Women Life Freedom Movement, which was so inspiring, and I was following it closely, they had snipers up there on buildings, 5 different snipers shooting women that they just randomly picked right between the eyes and killing them to end that protest.
Paul makes a good point. I think it's a fair point. Paul's questions using the Easter egg hunt to settle political scores. I for a long time have had a hard time with Trump making, if Joe Biden was more competent, I think I'd be more comfortable with the things that Trump says. But
you don't like him.
But in the manner that I thought Jill was almost guilty and the people around Joe Biden of elder abuse by taking advantage of him because they're barnacles on the ship of power at that point. I think you owe it to someone that doesn't even have awareness of their own capacity.
Do you, if that person tried to bankrupt you, put you in prison for the rest of your life, and put your children in prison?
I'm talking about the people in his orbit.
Joe Biden tried to...
No, and I understand Donald Trump's angst and ire, right?
We've
all been in that place where we may have had opportunity to call people out and become hyperbolic and, sort of righteously indignant. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. But even... I think it was Thomas Aquinas that even said that if you don't have anger and righteous indignation, that's a problem. That's actually...
Look at you busting out
I believe so. I think so. So
thinkers.
This whole modern ethic of control your anger, I disagree with that wholeheartedly.
Really?
Oh, I need to control mine or I'd get in some trouble. But I've got that Irish temper, I can blow up at people.
Well, you and I agree there. I mean, I think that I don't think it's a virtue when something is on its face absolutely unjust and wrong to not call it out.
Oh, I agree with that.
And to be damn angry about it and to express that anger.
Yeah.
David says in the 90s, under Clinton's presidency, bombed and destroyed almost the entire power grid of Serbia with no cries of war crimes. That's true. There's selective outrage by the left.
Are you saying that there's a double standard?
Never me. Oh.
What?
What? No.
That could not be the case.
Media,
the media would have pointed that out already. We would have been hearing about that.
No. The Kansas City Death Star, the St. Louis Most Detached, the New York Slime, they never call it right.
The Washington Post.
They never have a double standard. Always balls and strikes with those people. Come back and wrap it up after this. Stay tuned.
It's Wake Up
Welcome back into Wake Up Missouri. 800-529-5572. We've had a couple of lively calls today. Talked with Nick Schroer, Senator Schroer, earlier in the program, and former JAG officer and U.S. Attorney Jay Town. Make sure you catch that. If you didn't live, you can catch it on the podcast. And Pat has a bone to pick, apparently, with someone. Can't be with... Pat, what's going on? Thank you for calling.
Hey, Randy. My bone's with you because you said that you had an issue with controlling your anger. So, biblically, we are not supposed to allow our anger to make decisions or any emotions to make decisions. We're supposed to control all of our emotions. Doesn't mean not to have them. God gave you that emotion. It exists. Jesus Christ threw the money changers out. He was angry when he did it. There's another place where he looked at the Pharisees with anger. So, but his anger was controlled. It controls exactly how it should be.
Yeah,
so
Pat.
It's fine to be.
Pat, look, if you're ever a patient of mine and the insurance company is unjustly denying some great treatment that you need, you may have a different thought when I get angry over the phone with them. But I appreciate your call.
No. I have no problem with you getting angry. I'm saying it just has to be control your anger. You don't do it through rage.
Well, yeah, but anger by definition is a bit out of control emotion, right?
No.
Here's what
indignation is. You're upset. Wait. Let me make the point. Righteous indignation gives you more determination to get up and do action against that injustice. So it's not necessarily out of control. Out of control is the wrong way. Do it in control, but use it to fight that injustice.
Okay. I think we do that. I do that all I can. There's only so many hours in the day. Thank you for that career and life counseling. A quote from St. Thomas Aquinas, and I think this is authentic. He who is not angry when there is a just cause for anger is immoral. Why? Because anger looks to the good of justice. And if you can live amid injustice without anger, you are immoral as well as unjust.
I don't like how a listener just told you that you can be angry. Oh, my Lord. Ranty Tobler's coming out in full fashion tomorrow, I'm guessing.
That whole conversation made me think of Star Wars. Like the Siths, they want you to feel your anger and use it.
But
the Jedi are always like, control your anger.
I would never.
Don't give in to your anger.
I would fail law school in the first semester because you guys must be trained. Are you selected to be able to just be cool, calm, and collected while sticking the dagger in your opposition? Or is that just...
You do have to control it and be strategic in trial when you show your anger and when you don't. Because if you're angry all the time... The jurors aren't going to notice.
Yeah.
But if you selectively and strategically pick when you're going to show that you're mad at a particular witness for lying, that can be very effective.
Yeah.
But speaking of inequity, apparently,
this is great. Harmeet. Yeah.
They just released this thing about the preliminary citywide racial equity plan, which is prompting pushbacks because they're saying in housing, the cost of living measure. It says that all New Yorkers are affected, but we know this crisis is not felt equally. Black and Latino
And while
New
today's
Yorkers.
true cost of living measure confirms that the affordability crisis touches every corner of our city, we know that these effects are not applied evenly. So often, it is Black and brown New Yorkers who are hit the hardest.
So there you go. How's Harmeet going to deal with that?
Well, he said the preliminary racial equity plan is where we begin to reverse that pattern. So you are going to have housing policies that prefers people on the basis of race over one another. That is called unconstitutional and illegal. And Harmeet tweeted, got right on it, said quote, sounds fishy/illegal.
That is
we'll review.
Harmeet is protecting everyone's civil rights. That is such a beautiful thing to see.
Great American. Love Harmeet.
Harmeet for AG?
Possible.
All right. Jennifer, thanks for being in for Steph. We appreciate it. Now, we had one of the texters ask if Jennifer will do the Stephanie you-know-what. Here it comes in. There it is. See you tomorrow.